Hey guys! For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ashley Scow and I am part of a MGT 3020 Organizational Behavior class with Professor Naturno. The book that I'm going to be presenting to you today is called EQ Applied by Justin Bariso, and I chose it because I feel like those of us in the marketing, the business, any kind of professional field where we need to work with other people is going to require us to learn, understand, and apply these emotions. So the first chapter I really wanted to talk about, something that Justin absolutely hits hard on, is how to make emotions work for you instead of against you. So there's a few questions that we should discuss and kind of think about during the entire presentation. Something on a little bit more of a personal note: how can we transform our emotions? I know a lot of us kind of going through college and trying to graduate this year, especially myself. It's definitely turmoil and it can be emotionally exhausting on the being. How can knowledge help us identify our habits? And how can empathy hurt or heal us? I mean, that's something to think about. For those of you who didn't know there's a dark side to empathy, there for sure is a dark side to empathy. So something that Justin wants to talk about, and something as a reader that I picked up on from theory to practice, is defining emotional intelligence. There are actually several definitions, but the one that I decided to go with was someone's ability to control their own behavior and identify with the emotions of others. Now, this is really important just because there's such a wide range of emotional abilities, which include effective thinking and being able to use actions and behavior to explain them. Um, like I had mentioned before, 1,000 times over, remember to make emotions work for you instead of against you. A great example of this was Steve Jobs. I don't know if any of you actually knew, but he did file for bankruptcy um, just before 1997 when he returned to the company. He had actually left to go on a personal journey himself. And a lot of people would explain that his actions were harsh or he was kind of a hard person to work with, but people actually followed him. He was really inspiring and he got into the brains of his audience. You would consider him an emotionally intelligent man, very much. And I mean, look at what he inspired. I mean, the entire line of Apple products. I mean, how many of you own an Apple product? An iPhone, a MacBook Pro? Which brings us into the situation of how to control emotional intelligence. So Miracle on the Hudson was a really great example. So what had happened that there was a wild incident where geese had ended up in the plane's engines and causing it to take a huge dip into the sky. Luckily, there were a couple pilots and brave crew members, and they landed safely in the Hudson River, calling it Miracle on the Hudson. 155 people who kept it under control, even though it was surely to panic some. So a couple actions that we can take to control this is pausing, muting, recording, rewinding, fast forwarding, and a trailer. So I'm sure that a lot of you are familiar with DVR, DVDs, and using Blu-rays. So all very similar functions, but actually applying them to how humans work. A couple of questions for a trailer. Does this need to be said? Does this need to be said by me? And does this need to be said by me right now? A couple things to ask ourselves. Maybe if we're ever stuck in a situation, you need to take a step back and think it over. Asking ourselves these questions can help us certify that. There are 6 ways to build our emotional intelligent quotient. So compared to our intelligent quotient, there's actually no way to truly measure or quantify our emotional intelligence. It's more about simulating it and learning how to work with it in our real life situations. One huge thing right now, especially with Hallmark movies coming up in the holidays: watch movies. Take the time to relax. Listen to music. Read, like we all did with our books. Engaging in sports and exercise. I know a lot of you are actually like on the sports teams with Madonna, and I've been on a few as well, and it really helps you relax and calm down and think about what's going on in your life. Writing is also a big one. It definitely helps express your emotional intelligence, how you're feeling about certain situations, and you want others to feel while they read it. And last of all, traveling. We are creatures of habit. Our thoughts turn into words, our words turn into actions, actions turn into habits, habits are part of our character, and our characters are destiny. So habits actually emerge because our brain wants to save effort and energy. It's just routine behavior, and our brain, it rewards it, whether it's good or it's bad. This can lead to emotional hijacking. So that occurs when our emotions overrule our thinking. So our emotions tend to lead the conversation. There's also a few questions to ask in this, and everyone's going to differ that these emotional questions, everyone's going to have a different answer because of the situation. Nothing is going to be able to be answered the same. Why did I react like that? Was it helpful or harmful? How will I feel about it later? What did I get wrong and what would I change? What would I say to myself next time to help me change? Or think clearly. A good example of this, road rage. And I'm sure a lot of you can connect to that already. Diamonds in the rough. You must treat all feedback as a gift. Even the most talented athletes have a coach. Something that a lot of employment opportunities can come across is the manager steps to transparency. A lot of people feel like they don't get praised like they should in the workplace, so managers should prove it with honest feedback and rewarding them for good, positive, and behavior. Focus on the general content. Make sure that you're coming across clearly and communicating effectively. The truth about empathy, I know I mentioned this before, is that empathy can be a bad thing. It's the ability to see and feel things from another perspective. Cognitive empathy is what you already know. Emotional empathy is what you're feeling. And compassionate empathy is what moves you the most. An example of like the plane and the Hudson, you must focus on putting your own oxygen mask on before helping others. So you have to make sure that you yourself are emotionally stable and ready to lunge in to help someone else. So you got to make sure that you're under control before you can help anyone else, or you may both suffer. The power of influence. Emotional decision making involves what we actually care about. An intentional influence inspires others to change their behavior. So relationships are a really big power of influence, and it reasons a lot with empathy. You begin with a common ground. You want to ask strategic and specific questions. Provide evidence to your partner so they're likely to respect what you have to say, and know when to yield, meaning stop, red, you should back off. Building bridges. Cultivating meaningful relationships through psychological safety. This means that coworkers can feel safe around you, that they won't be punished, they won't feel embarrassed, and they're more likely to take risks. Strong bridges are built on solid foundations of trust. So authenticity, when you know that you can trust someone because they're authentic, means they can keep it real. Humility, apologizing when you know you're wrong, because we're all human and we make mistakes. Everyone deserves to be commended, especially when they don't feel like they're being appreciated for it. Let them express themselves. Acknowledge their feelings and empathize with them. Use appropriate questions and thank them for listening. Thank them for their time. The dark side. So a little bit about Adolf Hitler. He was a leader, and he was confident because he rehearsed. He was feared because of it, and he manipulated people to be part of the scapegoat plan. Another one, Wells Fargo. They illegally applied people for credit cards and charged over $185 million. They manipulated their employees, they pressured their employees, and it all came from the expectations of sales and management. Then in return, there was a green light plan in response to trash talk. And that comes a lot from higher management company to meet the expectations of the business and meet the expectations of yourself. Challenge your methods. Now, there's a lot of people who may pressure you into doing certain things that you're uncomfortable with, which may include steroids. People who are passive aggressive with you and want to give you the silent treatment until you come back around, or being ignorant and just trying to be sarcastic with you. Don't let them challenge your true values. Moving forward, emotions are beautiful. Please let them come in. Definitely embrace them. Being emotionally intelligent is being able to see those emotions in others and, kind of just see how it affects you. Love them and don't underestimate them because sometimes you might be part of the dark side and have to wear a Darth Vader mask. We're more alike than different. Sometimes the lack of awareness hurts us. I mean, we're better together, just thinking about it. Using our emotions to tap into other people's emotions to influence them and show the true power of emotional behavior. So the goal here is, from Justin and myself, make emotions work for you, not against you. There were 10 commandments of emotional intelligence. Thou shalt ponder thy feelings. Thou shalt learn from other perspectives. Thou shalt learn to pause. Thou shalt practice empathy. Thou shalt praise others. Thou shalt apologize, and thou shalt forgive. Thou shalt be authentic, keeping it real. Thou shalt control thy thoughts, and thou shalt not stop learning. And like I say, don't stop learning. A little bit of reflection, how everything went. I did like the book. I thought it was really cool. And I think you have to learn how Justin's perspective is, how, he tempted his wife, and just being overall a nice person and genuine. It was easier to comprehend. I don't know if it was fun just because it made me think a lot and reflect about my own personal experiences and how a lot of negative ones have affected my relationships with other people. And I do definitely recommend it. Pick it up, listen to an audiobook. It's definitely something that can help inspire you in your life and your future.